I'm on the agenda. Translocation of Desert Bighorn, Utah, Division of Wildlife Resources, and Mike Cox.
Good morning, Mike Cox, Big Game Staff Biologist for Nevada Department of Wildlife. We have a State of Utah Division of Wildlife Resource Biologist here to speak on behalf of their agency on the request they have to receive some desert bighorn sheep from us this fall, winter. And I know the agenda had stated 20 animals, but I think it should be based upon our opportunities and our source population numbers. I would be quite comfortable of giving them up to 30. So I would ask that you consider not just limiting it to 20 when you consider that. So I'll let Rick speak on behalf of the state of Utah, and I'll be up here if you need to ask any questions of our source populations.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Rick Larson. I'm the Chief of Wildlife for the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. I was a biologist at one time, now I'm an administrator, but the person in our agency who has been dealing with Mike and Nevada Department of Wildlife is Teresa Bonzo out of our Cedar City office. And Teresa had to put in a long day yesterday releasing chuckers, and so I told her since I was planning on coming anywhere, I asked her to sleep in this morning. So she gives her regards. I appreciate the opportunity to come down and meet with the commission today. Obviously, desert bighorns are a big deal to Utah, and they're a big deal to Nevada. One of the most gratifying things, I think, in the wildlife business is realizing that wildlife management does not stop at state boundaries. It's quite pleasing to me that each agency is willing to do what it takes to help the others succeed. And I think this project is just a case in point of that. And I'd like to express my appreciation personally and our director's appreciation to the Commission and the Nevada Department in their consideration of this project. Just real quickly, I know you've had a full agenda yesterday and I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but I just want to kind of give you a brief update on where we're at with our preparations for this in anticipation of a positive review. These animals will go, and it's part of we just recently revised our desert bighorn plan, and this particular unit, the Kaparowitz unit, is #1 in our priority for population augmentation. For those of you who don't know, this unit is east of Kanab and between Kanab and Lake Powell. It's mostly on the Grand Staircase Escalante Monument, which is managed by the BLM, not the Park Service. We have 3 sites identified. One, our biologists have been going out just recently and doing an assessment of all these sites, and we have one that looks particularly promising. The habitat's in good shape. There's lots of water, surprisingly enough, but there is, and we feel this unit has been under a predator management objective, which essentially is a quota system for cougars. And so we've been on this issue for quite some time. We feel pretty comfortable that we're in a good position as far as that issue goes. And I can talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. As far as doing some of the administrative consultations, this transplant is part of our plan that has been approved by our wildlife board, has gone through our RAC process. Once we realized that this might come to fruition, we've gone ahead and double-checked with the local BLM office in Kanab. We've recontacted the local governments, Kane County, and also the BLM permittee who runs cows out in this area, and they're all behind it. It was quite interesting. Just a quick aside: the county commissioner, the permittee, and the RAC member are all the same person. So it made for one-stop shopping there, so that worked out really well. In fact, the BLM, I might say, is is they're so much in support that they're willing to provide trucks and trailers to give us a hand come November when we go out and come to the capture site. So, and not only that, I personally know the manager out there. He used to work for us, and I've got some dirt on him. So I don't expect that's going to change anytime soon. Also, just real quickly, I got a call, or actually our local state chairman for FNAS, the Foundation North American Wild Sheep, came by my office just yesterday, and he's pumped big time, and he just wants to let you guys know that we certainly appreciate the consideration. They've been big supporters of us, and as you know, FNAS is a pretty heavy hitter when it comes to wildlife conservation in this country, and I just thought I'd pass that on to you as well. It's obvious to me just hearing the discussions that you guys are interested in predators, so I think I'd take a little extra time to let you know that we're on top of that situation at this release site. Not only that, our regional office has taken the opportunity to speak directly with our local USDA Wildlife Services folks down in Cedar and their division office, and they're ready to do whatever needs to be done to make sure this succeeds. So I don't want to go into a lot of detail there, but we are as concerned as everybody, particularly on these kinds of projects where predation can have a significant impact on success, that we need to stay on top of that issue. And I can assure you we have been and will be on top of that issue. So, and again, just in summary, we're ready to move ahead, and God, I sure appreciate you guys. And also, obviously, we're going to be footing the bill for it. So we have the funds lined up to make this happen. And again, if we can do anything from our end to help your department out, we're more than happy to do so. In fact, I got a blue light special going on bison right now. So if you're interested in that, anyway, if you have any questions, please.
I got a couple questions. No, I think it's a wonderful program. You know, our agency is short of funds too, and I don't see anything in here who's going to pay for this. And usually, when somebody out of state comes in, if you were willing to pay the helicopter time and the employee time and the trapping time, if we found some animals, that'd be more favorable. But for us to use our financial resources really puts a strain, because we have limited money for helicopter time for our own purposes, and I didn't hear any comment on who's going to pay for that.
Okay, maybe I wasn't clear. We will be picking up the bill for this.
Okay,
yeah,
that'd be very important. And the other thing is, one of the other things, some of the other commissioners might bring it up. We don't want to make lion bait for them, and you sound like you have a pretty good program.
Obviously, we're a multi-species management agency, but we have targets that we're very much in tune with our traditional constituencies. So we just real quickly, we just, as Nevada does, I'm sure, we base our target recommendations on predator management, on age structure, sex surveys, things like that, of the harvest. And this particular unit is based on what we call a management harvest objective, which is we just don't issue tags. We say we want this many cats taken from this area. And we just keep at it until we have folks report in that they've taken that many cats. And again, Wildlife Services they have a coyote program on board right now, both aerial and ground treating of dens. We're not interested in throwing these animals into a predator black hole. So I think. And
on this agenda item we had, and it's written as 20 desert, and I don't think we can change that, because it's written on the agenda 20 desert and without public notice. So I think we have to stay with that, what's on the agenda, with 20. So for Mike, and I think, and it's a good program before it. We can't change the 20, and if we have surplus animals, and that's going to be determined by our biologists.
Of course.
Personally, I'd be for that. Let's see what the other commissioners say. Who wants to speak on it? Commissioner Capurro.
Mr. Chairman, I similarly have concerns about changing the number, with no notice on it. So It's a perfectly fine program. We've always cooperated with other states. Other states have cooperated with us, just so long as you don't send us any wolves. But the fact of the matter is, that's been a very, very effective method of spreading species development throughout the West, and we've had good cooperation with the states and with Canada in the past. My concern, again, is that the number is, to me, if the number was supposed to be 30, we should have had 30 on the agenda here. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. I would have a problem if it was 100 or 150, because, you know, that's beyond what, on our, for instance, on our translocations, we have a specific number. Now, we may either exceed it a little bit or a little bit less, depending upon the activities on the ground. But I'm sure you understand, although we support the program, I think the number's got to be what it is.
Oh, I understand. I respect your process.
Commissioner Capurro, and we can change the number later on by putting it back on the agenda. We can add to it at another time. So that's not a magic number we're stuck with, but we're stuck with it right now, I think. But we can always, you know, on another request, change the number.
In talking to Mike Cox yesterday about some of the issues we're dealing with our desert bighorn sheep herd, it sounds like we're reaching capacity in a number of our units. And obviously our main focus is going to be on our translocation programs within our state to make sure we maximize our herd. But we're getting close. We're getting close, and we're even starting to talk about U-hunts, and that doesn't.
It's an enviable position to be in.
Yeah, well, it is, but it doesn't sit too well with me, and I don't think it's going to sit too well with all of the bighorn sheep constituents. And so I think there's going to be some opportunities down the line. So we may be fixed at 20 for this particular, capture, but I think there may be future opportunities not only for the state of Utah, but any other state that needs bighorn. It's going to be to everybody's best interest that we expand our desert bighorn sheep herds beyond the state of Nevada. Obviously, we have a wonderful program. We have an excellent herd. We're the largest in the nation, obviously, with desert bighorn sheep. So I think there'll be other opportunities, is my point.
Oh, that'd be fine. We'd appreciate whatever you could do for us. We have, without taking up too much of your time, we have lots of other places that we could, and we're finding others all the time after we take care of some burns and reseeds and do some other habitat improvement work. We're finding more areas that would be very good for sheep. So.
Commissioner Cavan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just had two questions, and the first one is this going to be a huntable population at some point?
Without a doubt. It's being hunted right now.
Okay.
We're issuing tags right now, yeah.
And the other question was related is with this being in the grand staircase, is there hunting in that?
Yes.
Or is that, okay, so.
Yes. This is not managed by the Park Service. This is by the BLM.
Okay.
So,
and a lot of private land, good access, that sort of thing?
Not much. It's mostly all public, yeah.
So it's mostly public land, okay. Great, thank you. Completely support the program.
Yes.
Great.
Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was interested in how large is the existing herd that you're going to augment?
I believe it's right around 150, maybe a little bit more. Some of the numbers I saw are from 2 years ago, and I just kind of grabbed some paper when I headed out the door yesterday. So but it's a fairly big area. In fact, if you saw it on a map, it's at least that big. But anyway, it's got plenty of. Yeah. There's room for augmentation. It's going into an area where we'd like to see more sheep established. In fact, it's in relatively close proximity to some of the other animals that we received from you guys several years ago. So we're hoping we can get a lot of intermixing going on there. And if that doesn't work, as I was heading out the door, I had one of my managers call me and make a pretty convincing argument for an area up on the Henrys. Unfortunately, he was, $1 short and 10 minutes too late, but he was all hot for those too. So, in answer to your statements, I think we'd be more than interested in talking to you folks in the future too. So.
How about horses? You need any horses?
No. In fact, you mentioned horses, and I did what again. You know, habitat and predators they're always in effect, but we can control those. The horse thing has me worried.
They come with the sheep, you know, horses.
We'll call them at the border, I guess. I don't know.
Any other commissioner comments before I turn it over to the public? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Turn this over because I know some of the advisory boards had some comments on this, I do believe. Anybody from the county advisory boards want, or anyone from the public want to comment on this?
Paul Dixon, Clark County. We actually talked about this as an agendized item in Clark County, and Pat Cummins, the big game local biologist, he spent a lot of time and educated the public as well as the board about the importance of this program and the fact that over the last X decades, Nevada has benefited probably 100+ fold by these sort of exchange programs. And although it's not a quid pro quo program, it is something that we just do, and you make requests, and it isn't because we've given them sheep, they're going to give us buffalo, or they're going to give us something else, but it is just what we do because it's the right thing to do, because nature doesn't see state boundaries or hunt unit boundaries, it sees the ranges. And so I just want to say that my board, with the good education by Pat Cummings, who's really 100% in support of this program and thinks that it's something we should be doing and continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, for the record, Tom Castanelli with Humboldt County. I gave my spiel yesterday, so I won't go long. Humboldt County is totally 100% behind these transplant programs throughout the West if we have the animals to spread around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rex Flowers, Washoe County. We did support this translocation with the approval of the biologist that it is not going to be a detriment to our own herds, and we're very comfortable. They have the answers, and they'll do the right thing for us.
Thank you.
Giliana, Carson County. We don't have a lot of deer, but maybe we could bring in a moose or something from Utah. That would be fun to have in Carson. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jalindo Taberti with Fraternity of the Desert Bighorn. We had this at our meeting, and we support this item. It was brought up in our meeting that we hate handcuffing biologists, and we'd rather give them, people on site, the ability to do their jobs, and that would be to recommend up to 30 animals. I just understand, I heard what you said, that you might not be able to do that, but that was our recommendation was to have these items where they're up from 0 to 30 or something like that. So if we do whatever type of capture we do, if it happened to be a drop net and you capture 22, well, 22 go, or if you only get 19, 19 go. I mean, trying to get these biologists to do finite numbers is pretty tough. So in the future, we do recommend that we have some movement where we can go up to, and we'd also like this commission to know that the fraternity would like to offer our volunteer support for this operation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Greg Smith with the Nevada Bighorns Unlimited, and we do too support this as well and would offer our support on the volunteer basis if it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. If not, I'll close the public hearing on this and bring this back to the commission. It's an action item, and I would like to see a motion, but I'd like to have the cost so that we don't bear the cost on it. And I don't think we can go over 20. I think we can say up to 20. And also, according to the biologists, if we can spare them, you know, I mean, leave it up to them. But I think that should be in the motion if we're going to make a motion on it. And so I'd accept a motion with that if anyone wants it. Commissioner McBath?
Thank you, Chairman Lent. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the translocation of Desert Bighorn to the Utah Division of Wild Resources, and with the understanding that we are authorizing up to 20 Desert Bighorn sheep, and that the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources will be responsible for the cost of the translocation effort. Obviously, I would also assume that the department has our biologists, at least one on site, you know, to be a part of that process to protect our interests. And with that, I make that motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. I'm not going to repeat it, but everyone understand the motion? Any comments on the motion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All for the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.